Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that are being released in 2023 that I am the most excited to read. And I'm just going to go in order of publication date. So the first book I am very excited to read, it comes out in just a couple weeks. That is Loathe to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. This comes out on January 10th. And I know what you're thinking because this is a bind up of her 3 novellas that are already out. But I've been waiting for the bind up to come out so that I can just read all the novellas at once in one book and not have to buy 3 separate books. But I'm really excited for this one because I love Ali Hazelwood. I love her romances. I know they're not for everyone, but her writing just works for me. I'm really picky about my romances because I like the right amount of tension to be built up. I like the couple to have believable chemistry, and I feel like Ali Hazelwood does all that perfectly. I feel like the pacing of her novels is always on point. I feel like her characters always have depth and there's a lot of layers to her stories. So I'm very excited for these 3 feminist novellas. I've heard mixed reviews about them, but then again, like I said, I know Ali Hazelwood is not for everyone. And I'm also curious, being that the novellas are shorter, if they're still gonna work for me in terms of like the pacing and the timing, since more has to be packed into a shorter amount of time. I don't know. I hope I like them. I feel like I'm gonna enjoy them and they're just gonna be fun, easy little romances to fly through this year. The next book I am so excited for is The Kind Worth Saving by Peter Swanson. This comes out on March 7th, and this is the sequel to The Kind Worth Killing, which was one of my favorite thrillers that I read in 2022. It made it to my favorites of the year list, so I obviously have to read the sequel. And it's kind of a funny story because originally when I read The Kind Worth Killing, I gave it 4.5 stars. And I knocked off the 0.5 star solely because of the ending. I didn't like that it was so open-ended and ambiguous, and I needed more closure. But when Peter Swanson announced the sequel to this book that kind of continues where The Kind Worth Killing ended and kind of picks up on this character's story, it made me bump up my 4.5 star for The Kind Worth Killing to 5 stars because it fixed the problem that I had with it. So I'm very excited for this one. Obviously not going to really say anything about the synopsis since it would spoil it if you haven't read The Kind Worth Killing. But I do think I'm going to reread The Kind Worth Killing before picking up the sequel because reading the synopsis for this book made me realize that I've forgotten a lot of the details and things that happen with the character that is mostly going to be in the sequel. So definitely need a refresher on that, but I am very excited for The Kind Worth Saving. The next book is another thriller, and that is The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth, and this comes out on April 4th. Sally Hepworth is a new favorite author for me that I discovered in 2022. One of her books also made it to my favorites of the year list, so I just want to read absolutely everything that she writes. I just love her writing so much. The way she tells a story is so intriguing and so captivating. And most of her books cover similar themes and topics. And this one kind of sounds the same, but a little bit different, and I'll explain. So The Soulmate is basically about this couple, and they live on this house that sits on the edge of a cliff. So a lot of people come to this spot to actually commit suicide, and the husband in the couple ends up talking a bunch of people off the ledge and ultimately saving their lives. But there's one person who he does not talk down off the ledge, and they end up dying, and the wife starts to question if her husband knew this person, if he was involved in maybe pushing them off the ledge, what's going on there, if there's more to the story. So I say that this book sounds similar to Sally Hepworth's other books because most of her books do revolve around a dysfunctional relationship or a couple or a family and exploring those dynamics, but it feels different because most of her thrillers so far have taken place in more of a suburban setting and have a very domestic kind of vibe, and this sounds more like an isolated setting. I'm not 100% sure, but that's just what it seems like from this house on the cliff type of setting. So very intrigued by it. I just know I'm gonna love it because I've loved all of her thrillers that I've read so far. The next book, this is probably my most anticipated read of 2023, and I've seen it on everyone's list. That is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This comes out on April 25th. I'm so sorry if you've heard this synopsis 1,000 times already, because I have as well, but this one is about Harriet and Wynne, and they have dated for a while, but they have since broken up, and they take this annual vacation to this like beach home every year with their friends, and this is going to be the last year that they have the house. I'm not sure why, but to keep up appearances, Harriet and Wynne basically pretend that they are still together and not broken up, because they don't want to damper their annual weekly trip. They don't want to kill the vibe of the friend group, so they like basically fake date, which Emily Henry has never written a fake dating novel before, so I'm very excited to see that from her. I feel like it will be something different. It sounds like it might turn into an exes to lovers type romance, which is also fun. And I love that it revolves around a friend group too. I feel like that dynamic is also something we haven't seen from Emily Henry. I feel like it's gonna give us a little more diversity, which I love. So I'm just very, very excited for this book. I love all of Emily Henry's romances. She just knows how to write a great romance with so much character depth and layers to the plot, and we love her for that. My only issue with this book, I don't know if you guys have seen, but it's being released in hardback. It's gonna look so bad on my bookshelf with my other Emily Henry books, so I'm probably just gonna dish out the money for the paperback when that's released as well, but I kind of wish we had the option to buy one or the other, because I just don't like a hardcover book. I'm just such a paperback girly, but still very, very excited for Happy Place. The next book I am so excited for is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This comes out on May 2nd. Carly Fortune's debut, Every Summer After, was one of my favorites of the year. I saw it in almost every favorites of the year video I watched as well, so I feel like it was a very widely loved book. So this one is about a couple, and they meet up one day, have an instant connection, so they agree to meet up again a year later. And she shows up, but the guy does not, which that's kind of giving November 9th vibes, and I love it. I'm here for it. And then I think like 10 years down the road, they end up meeting up again, and it's revealed like why he didn't show up that day, and he probably has like a really good reason for why he wasn't there, and I think they try to rekindle their relationship. It might be a then and now timeline, which I love. So very excited for that one. I feel like my only issue with it could be that their little meet cute might be a little too insta-lovey. I don't know, I'm hoping it ends up being like November 9th, where the way things play out, you understand where the characters are coming from. It sounds like it's gonna be that kind of scenario, but with Carly Fortune's writing and how much I loved her debut, I feel like it can only get better from here, and I'm so excited for this book this summer. The next book on my list is The Happy Couple by Nisha Dolan. This comes out on May 25th, and I read Exciting Times by Nisha Dolan because after I fell in love with Normal People, I was looking for something similar, and Nisha Dolan came up on every single list when I was Googling books like Normal People, authors like Sally Rooney. And she is an Irish author, and I definitely get the comparison. She has a similar tone and writing style to Sally Rooney, and she writes similar characters, very pretentious characters that are still interesting to read about. She covers a lot of real life heavy topics like mental health, issues going on in the world, political things, stuff of that nature. And I'm really excited for The Happy Couple because the premise sounds so interesting. It sounds like it's gonna be a wedding story, but told in a completely new way. She just puts her own spin on it. So you have the bride and the groom, and you have the best man. The best man is secretly in love with the groom, and then you have the bride's sister, Phoebe, who is a bridesmaid, and she thinks that the groom is kind of sketch, it sounds like, because he keeps like disappearing randomly, and it's just kind of unexplained where he goes. And then you have a wedding guest named Vivian who watches everything play out from a distance. And I just love the dynamic of the 5 friends. I don't know if we're gonna get all of their POVs or how it's gonna play out, but I feel like the 5 people and their lives intersecting is going to be so interesting, and such a different spin to a traditional like wedding and marriage type story. The next book I am excited to read is Once More with Feeling by Alyssa Sussman. This comes out on May 30th. Alyssa Sussman wrote Funny You Should Ask, which became a huge sensation this year, and I was kind of middle of the road on that book. I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't a favorite. I felt like it was kind of unrealistic, this journalist falling in love with her celebrity crush. Like, I just couldn't really get behind it. But the premise of this book sounds a lot more interesting, and it's my favorite trope, friends to lovers, so I definitely have to give it a try. This one, it sounds like it's gonna have a then and now timeline, which I also love. It's about these two pop stars who were together back in the day, and it seems like they weren't really in love or have feelings for each other. They were just kind of together for the public image or whatever. But the girl in the couple, the pop star, ends up hooking up one night with a guy that she actually has feelings for, and it kind of ruins her whole career and her whole reputation because the public was like shipping this pop star duo together. And then 10 or so years later, I think, in the present, we also get the timeline seeing her try to rekindle the relationship with the guy she was actually in love with. So I don't know, I like the pop star aspect to this. I like the friends to lovers aspect, obviously, the then and now timeline. So I want to give Alyssa Sussman another chance. I'm hoping I like this one better. The cover is so eye-catching. Whoever is designing her covers is doing an amazing job. Okay, the next book I want to read is Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. This comes out on June 6th. And Annabelle Monaghan is the author of Nora Goes Off Script, which I did not read this past year, but I really want to, because the few people I've heard talking about it just absolutely rave about it, and they're people whose opinions on books I really tend to agree with. So I definitely want to read that, but also equally as excited for her new release. And this one is being compared to Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. It sounds like there is a woman who's engaged, and it sounds like she doesn't really like her fiance, and when she's planning the wedding, she goes to this little beach town and ends up seeing the guy who broke her heart when she was younger, like her childhood love, and I think they rekindle their relationship. I can see my only issue with this being if there's like cheating involved, unless the fiance is just like really terrible and she breaks it off before she rekindles things with the childhood love, then I'd be okay with it, but we'll just have to see how it plays out, how it's written. It sounds like a really good like summer romance though, so I am here for it. Next I have another Ali Hazelwood. This is her next full-length novel, Love Theoretically, which comes out on June 13th. I'm very excited for this one. It seems like more of the same thing she's been doing, where the characters are in the world of STEM. Our female character's name is Elsie, and it looks like on the side she has this job as being a fake girlfriend for people, so I think we're gonna get the fake dating trope. And she's in love with her favorite client's older brother, I believe. But I think as it turns out, the older brother somehow ruined things for her in like an academic sense. It sounds very similar to a lot of other Ali Hazelwood novels, but for me, I feel like it works because there's enough differentiation, but the things that are similar are things that I love, so I don't have an issue with it, but I know a lot of people feel like her books are becoming very copy-paste, so we'll see. I feel like I'm gonna love it though, because like I said earlier, I love Ali Hazelwood's romances. And the last book I have on my list is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This one comes out on June 20th. This is another thriller by him that takes place in the 80s, which I love that setting. This one's following a young woman who ends up being a caretaker for this older woman who was accused of murdering her entire family back in the day. Since then, she's had several strokes and now she is mute, and she communicates to the caretaker through this old typewriter, and she types out a message to her that says, "It wasn't me." So she's basically trying to like confess the truth to this caretaker. It sounds so creepy, so eerie, and so interesting. I'm curious to know why the caretaker would take this job in the first place, if she is under the impression at all that this woman murdered her whole family. Sounds really spooky and eerie, but I love Riley Sager's thrillers overall, so very excited for his new one. Alright guys, those are all the 2023 new releases that I am most looking forward to and are on my radar. I'm sure more books are going to be announced as 2023 progresses that I will be excited for, but these are just the ones that I know about and will definitely be picking up on release day, so make sure you subscribe to my channel to stick around and hear how I end up liking all of these books. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give me a thumbs up and comment below with the new releases that you are most excited to read in 2023. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you so soon in my next video. Bye guys.